Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about numbers in GDScript. There are two variable types in Godot to represent numbers: integers and floats. Integers represent whole numbers. Floats are used for decimals or fractions. Let's look at some simple math operations to see how these types behave. This works as expected, as both numbers are integers. Let's create some new variables. Instead of explicitly defining their type, we'll use this shorthand syntax to let Godot infer their type. Godot will see the value 4 and know that the variable foo is of type int. Let's run this and see the result. Just as expected, we got 2. Again, this is because both values being added are of the same type. But what if we're calculating fractions? This is where using integers can give us some problems. In a normal math context, we would have expected the result to be 1/2 or 0.5. Instead, we got 0. The decimal was rounded off. This is because integers only deal in whole numbers, including in calculations. Usually though, we do want the decimal value. This is where floats come in. We can either instantiate our variables as floats, like so, and this will give us the expected result. But when coding, we won't always be certain whether the number stored in a variable is of type int or of type float. This is where we can use casting to help us. First, we're going to change these variables back into ints. You can cast a variable to change its type. For example, we can tell Godot that we want to treat this variable as if it's a float. Let's see this in action. In the print statement, we're going to cast each of the arguments to the print function so that Godot reads them as floats instead. And boom, we get the answer we were expecting. There is another very common use case for casting, and it has to do with print statements in particular. The print function only prints strings. Up until now, we've been putting a single variable type into our print statements, and the Godot compiler is smart enough to automatically convert a number, for example, into a string. But often, when trying to debug, we'll want to label our variables right in the print statement. But if we try to write something like this, Godot will throw an error. You'll remember from the previous episode that using the plus sign with strings concatenates them, or otherwise mushes the two strings together into a single string. But for numbers, the plus sign mathematically adds the two numbers instead. To mix variable types in our print function, we will need to cast them. So here, we will cast foo to a string. We do this by using the str function. Now, our variable will print out correctly. Here are some examples of how you can cast your variables to different types. It's important to note that casting will not change the variable itself. In our example here, foo will still be of type int. Casting will only temporarily convert the type in the exact spot in our code where we are using the casting function. That about wraps this video up. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Like and subscribe to be notified of future videos. In the next episode, we'll be going over Booleans and conditional logic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.